Hello and welcome to Gardening with Ben's award-winning podcast, as voted by Grow Your Own magazine and by my followers and listeners. So if you're new to the podcast, make sure you click that subscribe button to stay up to date with all our podcasts, listen back to all our previous episodes, sit back, grab a brew and let's enjoy today's episode. Good evening and welcome back to Gardening with Ben for a new podcast on this Tuesday morning on the 1st of March. We are finally in March and let's keep us fingers crossed that it's not going to be a bad and miserable March, because it can be. You never know, it could be very snowy. Some Marches are very snowy, but then some we can get heat waves. If you remember back to the first lockdown, what we had in the UK, we had a massive heat wave and I was able to start off most of my seeds and get them all germinated in then. And fingers crossed, come the end of March, that is when I'm going to be sowing literally all of my seeds, as that is when I usually start mine in my unheated greenhouse and start getting them growing, because I like to get them started then, because like I say, it's unheated greenhouse, so it can take a while for them to germinate, but if you get a few good spell days it will get them started and get them going. As I don't have shelves in my house, or I haven't got a garden with a greenhouse, I have to start everything off down at my allotment, so I have to make use of what I've got, and hence one of the reasons why I've been trying to fix it and repair it from these storms, to try and make it warmer again, so that we can get those seeds germinated. And the other day when I was in the greenhouse, it got up to 20 degrees, so it shows the weather is starting to get warmer and it is getting time to start getting those seeds germinated and getting them growing. And yeah, I'm getting on with getting my plot ready, getting all the jobs done, getting it all ship shape and ready. I'm hoping that my plot will be complete for around the end of April. All my jobs will have been done by end of April, and I can get sowing, planting stuff outside possibly a couple of weeks into May, once the chance of frost has passed, because I'm not one of these keen ones that likes to plant stuff out early. I wait until the chance of frost has definitely passed, because I've seen so many people planting stuff outside and losing crops, and it's disheartening. They've tried growing them all from seed, or they've been out and purchased the plants and then they've lost them all to the frost. So it's not worth it being too eager sometimes. It's best off waiting until the time is right to actually plant stuff outside. So in today's episode we're going to be talking about all the jobs which need doing in your garden and allotment in March, and tomorrow's episode will be all about what seeds we can plant in March. So make sure you do click that subscribe button, because then you'll get notified when the episode comes online and you will be able to be the first to listen to it. And yeah, keep sharing them in your stories on Instagram, or if you've listened to an episode, send me a message after you've listened, just asking me any questions you may have, or whether you've enjoyed it. It's always good to interact with the people that listen to it, and it's amazing how many people do listen to these podcasts. It really does make my day, and I certainly do enjoy interacting with everyone, because that's the sort of person I am. I love chatting to people and I love making new gardening friends. So in this episode we're going to talk about all the different jobs which need doing in the allotment and the garden. We usually start off with what needs doing in the vegetable garden, then the fruit garden, and then what needs doing in the flower garden. So you can either make a note of this, or you can listen back to it a few times and make sure you get all them jobs done and tick them off as you go along. And the quicker you get them done, the more time you have to doing other jobs around the allotment. So yeah, first off, what needs doing in the vegetable garden? Not many jobs in the vegetable garden, as obviously we're not growing much at the moment outside in the veg patch. But if you're growing asparagus, you can prepare your beds this month, making sure that they're weed free. And if you've got your asparagus crowns in the ground at the moment, add some mulch around them, because that'll help keep the weeds down. It will keep the ground moist, and it will give it the nutrients it needs to get in some good asparagus growing. And obviously asparagus is expensive to buy in the shops, so if you can plant some asparagus, good on you, go for it and save some money. And then when you invite your friends around, you can have some nice posh meals and show them the asparagus that you have made and cooked for them. If you've been growing green manure in your beds to keep over the winter, now is the time to dig it over and dig it into the soil. This will help add the nutrients into the soil for your plants for the coming year. So if you're growing green manure in your beds, get that dug over now. I've never actually done this. I need to have a look into growing green manure. I just tend to not do much over winter, but obviously growing green manure, you can add the nutrients back into the ground and it really does help the plants. So the vegetable beds, make sure that they're all weed free, get them all ready. If you want to warm them up, put some sheets of plastic over the top, that will warm the beds up and encourage it for when you're sowing your peas and stuff outside. Warming the soil up can help speed germination up as well. I've seen some people plant the onion sets and then put black plastic over the top to warm them up and to get them sprouting, and it does work. And it's the same goes for growing potatoes in the ground. They put the potatoes in the ground, then put black plastic over the top, and it warms it up and speeds up the germination of the plant, and you can get some good crops from doing this. Now on to the fruit garden jobs. Now obviously doing the fruit garden jobs is very important, because if you look after your fruit plants, they will give you fantastic crops back. So you need to make sure you get these fruit garden jobs done. And as you will have seen, I've been making my fruit garden absolutely massive now. My plot, I've extended it and created a new area with lots of new fruit in it, and I've got more to plant on Thursday. So make sure you stay tuned on Instagram, because I'll be sharing some pictures of new stuff, what I'm going to be planting on Thursday in my fruit garden. Yes, I've got even more fruit garden stuff to plant, but over the next few years my fruit production is going to be fantastic. I do love growing fruit because it's so quick and simple just to eat it. You don't have to cook it or anything like that. So the fruit garden is something that I absolutely love on my allotment, and you will have seen from how many strawberries I grow. So if you're growing blueberries, feed your blueberries this month with some ericaceous plant fertiliser. Now this is something I need to look at doing, because obviously I've just planted some new blueberries and I've already got 2 growing already, and I've never actually fed them before. So I do need to look into feeding them and giving them something. So after this episode, after I've recorded it, I'll be adding it to my shopping basket and getting some ordered, hopefully, to feed my blueberries plants with, because again, blueberries are expensive to buy in the supermarket. So if you can get a good return from the blueberry plants, then why not get them growing? Fruit trees, make sure you mulch them all this month to give them the food that they need to help grow. They'll soon be starting to blossom, so make sure they're all mulched up, and yeah, look after them. Keep looking after them. Give them water if it's dry. Obviously trees will drink as much water as you give them, so keep giving them a drink of water to help grow them and encourage the blossom to fruition. Raspberries, make sure the tips of the summer fruiting raspberries have had the tops cut off them. This will encourage the raspberries to bush out and produce more fruit. So if you've left your canes from last year which have grown, which will be the ones that fruit this year, trim the tops off the canes, and that will help make them bush out and produce more fruit, because they will focus on growing the fruit rather than growing any taller the canes. Rhubarb, mulch your rhubarb this month, but do not cover the crowns. If you cover your crowns, the mulch can burn the crowns and kill the crowns off. So make sure you leave an area around the crown so that it's not touching the crown. I sometimes give mine chicken manure as well, as that helps feed them as well over the next few months as it waters down and feeds into the soil. Strawberries, if you wanted an early crop, what you can do is cover them with a cloche, and this will warm them up and help produce the flowers a lot faster. But do remember to take the cloches off when the flowers are starting to come out, because the bees will need to get on them and help pollinate them. So yeah, if you wanted an early crop of strawberries, do that, but I'm going to wait until Wimbledon time. I always like mine around Wimbledon. Stone fruits. If you're growing nectarines, apricots and peaches, cover the trees with fleece to protect the blossom from frost, because the blossom can get killed by the frost and you don't want that. So good luck if you've got really tall trees, but try and protect them as much as possible. Flower garden jobs. Now these are the tips that I need to start reading up on more, because as I'm getting on this year, I am growing more and more flowers. Again, watch out on Thursday, you'll be able to see what else I've purchased for my allotment for the flower department. Wow, I'm getting addicted to growing these flowers, but I just can't wait to see the show, what's going to happen in spring and summer this year down at my plot. The colour is going to be absolutely amazing. And again, if you've got an allotment, plant flowers, encourage the bees to come. If you're the only plot that's got flowers on them, the bees will come to your plot and then they'll help pollinate all your fruit as well, and that's what you want to encourage. So plant flowers. If you've got some space, everybody's got some space, put them down your borders, down the side of the plot, plant some summer bulbs, get everything growing, all the flowers, look into it. Again, listen to tomorrow's episode and you'll be able to hear all the different flowers you can plant in March. If you're growing clematis, what you need to do is prune these back now before the new growth starts on them, because they'll start growing again. Now if they've been dormant over winter, now is the time to get them pruned back before the new growth starts on them. Now I've just planted a clematis and mine's obviously very small, so I won't be pruning mine, but I am looking forward to watching it grow and training it along my shed. And I really can't wait for the clematis. It's something that I've always wanted to grow on my allotment, so I'm looking forward to that. Daffodils, mine haven't popped open yet. They're still waiting to pop open, but obviously if it's down south, you might be getting them out already. They might be popping open. If it's warmer where you are, they will soon start to open. So as daffodils start to die back, you can dehead them, but do not cut them back to the base. Just dehead them and let them rot back to the bulb, because all the nutrients go back into the bulb and it will store it for next year. So do not trim off them ugly looking leaves, what it leaves behind. Just leave them and let them rot back to the bulb. Heathers. If you've got any old dead heather what's died back after winter, now is the time to prune it back and shape it up, ready for the year ahead. Hydrangeas. One thing that you don't prune when the flowers die on them, you leave the heads on them all the way through the winter. It's one thing my grandma always used to tell me, Ben, don't prune my hydrangeas until springtime. And as you will notice, your hydrangeas will start to send out fresh shoots now and start budding up. So now is the time that these can be pruned back. You might want to wait until the middle or end of March, but now is the time to start deheading the hydrangeas, and you can take them back to around 1/3 of last year's growth on them. So yeah, start shaping up those hydrangeas for fantastic flowers this year. And as I shared the other day, I've just got 4 new hydrangeas on my plot. I've never grown hydrangeas before, so it's something new for my plot. So I'm looking forward to those hydrangeas growing on my plot and getting some fantastic colour from them. Now something I do need to get for my allotment for this next tip is fuchsias. So prune these back this month to around 2 buds on each stem. That's for fuchsias. Prune these back this month to around 2 buds on each stem, and it's definitely something I want to get from my plot of fuchsia. But if I'm getting a fuchsia, it will need to be a hardy variety that will last through winter, because I don't want to have one that I have to keep taking inside all the time. I want one that I can actually look after and leave outside. Pansies, if you want them to keep flowering, keep deheading them. They'll start to die back a bit this month, but just keep deheading them as they die off the flowers, and you never know, you might keep getting some flowers on them and keep attracting, making it look nice and beautiful. Pansies are something that definitely add colour to the plot, and that's one thing that I am going to be sowing in the next few months is pansies. I've got some seeds to grow. I've grown them from seed before and they did fantastic. First time I've grown them from seed, and I'm definitely going to be growing them again. Perennials. If you've got any perennials that are growing in the garden or allotment, cut back any old foliage ready for the new growth this year. Roses. If you're wanting to prune your roses, these can be pruned back this month, ready for the new growth growing this year. And then last but not least, slugs, the dreaded slugs. Slugs will start coming out of hibernation, they'll start waking up again, they'll start looking for that fresh vegetation, all them fresh new plants that you're going to be planting, they're going to be looking for them. Yes, they will come out at night and they will start attacking again. So start getting the beer traps set up, ready to catch them slugs. Obviously we don't want to encourage slug pellets, so try and think of other ways of catching them slugs. And I tell you what some people do, they actually go out at night with a flashlight and they actually go out catching all the slugs. Yes, people do that because that's when the slugs come out mainly at night. They won't come out in the daytime much. You may see a few, but they don't come out as much as they do at night. And one tip what I was taught about watering is never water at night, because the ground will be wet and that will encourage the slugs to come out at night and eat your crops. Water the plants in the morning before the sun comes up. This is obviously in the hot periods. Water the plants before the sun comes up. Do it then, and you will protect your crops better from the slugs. So that is one big tip you can learn from today. Water your plants in the morning and not at night. And yeah, it's going to be a busy old March, and tomorrow's episode will be a very long one because there is lots and lots of stuff that we can start to sow. Obviously today's episode is a longer episode than usual. Usually they're only about 10 to 12 minutes long, but as the season goes on, these episodes will get longer because we'll have more and more to talk about. And I do love talking about all these different topics, and I get excited sometimes when I'm just talking to this microphone on my own as I'm saying all these tips. But I do really hope that they do help you and they do give you tips yourself, because like I always say, I've just learned all this as I've been doing it over the years. There's still so much to learn, and as I do these episodes I learn things, I research things, I look up things before I do these episodes. So yeah, I'm learning every single day. So I do hope you enjoy these episodes. Do click that subscribe button to get notified of new podcasts. Do keep sharing them in your Instagram stories. If you're listening on Spotify, you can just click that share button straight to Instagram and it'll post it in your story. But don't forget to tag me so that I know that you've shared it and I can thank you for doing it. So until next time, remember, keep smiling, keep gardening, and keep listening to Gardening with Ben's podcasts. See you all tomorrow, everyone. So thank you for listening to today's episode of Gardening with Ben. We hope that you've enjoyed this episode. Remember to do click that subscribe button to stay up to date with all our podcasts. Feel free to share them on your Instagram stories so that it spreads the word about my podcast and we get lots more listeners. Feel free to check out my social media sites, Facebook and Instagram as well, Gardening with Ben, and also my YouTube channel, to stay up to date with all my handy videos, how-to videos, and sharing my tips and advice. and feel free to check the link as well in the description for my Gardening with Ben t-shirts. Lots of funny gardening design t-shirts in there for you to purchase at great prices too. So thanks again, and as always, remember, keep smiling and keep gardening.